Welcome one and all to another edition of the Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Lots going on in the world of sports, especially here in South Florida. The Miami Heat are sort of finding things out. Butler's at least playing. Bam's sort of finding his footing. Tyler Hero's been fantastic. The Panthers themselves finding their way. Started strong, struggled a little bit, played better of late. But today, it is a Monday. It is the beginning of the week. Coming off a football weekend, the Canes didn't play, but they had the college football playoffs set. Canes are not in it. Miami Dolphins did play a war versus a lowly Jets team that they should have handled very easily, struggled to the finish, but did win in overtime. We talk a lot about the Miami Dolphins and the Miami Hurricanes. Head coach Mario Cristobal for the Canes. Do we trust him? Should you trust him? Head coach Mike McDaniel for the Miami Dolphins. Do we trust him? Should we trust him? We do start talking college football. Playoffs as the field is set. The Miami Hurricanes are not in it. The ACC did get 2 teams. The SEC only got 3 teams. Alabama's not in it. SMU, Clemson are in. We talk about the college football playoffs that are now set and how that relates to the Miami Hurricanes and then how they relate to the Miami Dolphins here on the Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I didn't think there was any way they were leaving Bama out. I really didn't.
Well, last year was a complete fucking no. Mostly because in the case of SMU this year, they didn't fit all the criteria like Florida State did. Florida State went undefeated. They managed to win a conference playoff game, a championship game with
Their third
a third-string quarterback, which I would think would be remarkable. I would consider that an asset. And then all of a sudden, the committee says, we got to consider style points. And so they throw Alabama in there. And what they really considered was that Nick Saban would have been crying to his grave, and they never would have lived out or shrugged off the embarrassment of leaving Alabama out, because Nick would have been insufferable and just kept pounding that. And as a commentator on ESPN, he would have referenced it every time. Hey, we got screwed last year. It's like, fuck you, Nick. Thank God they lost that championship game. Jesus Christ. But nonetheless, SMU gets in. If they don't rally in the second half, though, they probably lose that spot.
Yeah, if they get routed.
By Clemson, and then they rallied and made it a game. And even Dabo was, well, I guess that was patronizing his own league there, the ACC, but he started saying, well, that's a championship caliber team there. They should be in the playoff, whatever. And they really should have been, because they made a pretty good account of themselves. And how hypocritical would it be to penalize a team for losing by 3 points to a team that's in the conference or the championship playoff, and penalize them for losing in their conference championship game when they would have been better off if they hadn't played?
Yes.
That would have really been a horrible message to send, that we don't want you guys playing in the conference championship game because there's a chance you'll lose your spot for the national championship. Insane. Now, is there really any completely fair and equitable way to do this? No, because you have people voting. Not every team played each other. They play a different caliber of opposition. Look what happened with the University of Miami. Their weak schedule had to be a glaring indicator that they weren't going to get in. And when you were in Orlando this weekend, Lubie, did you stop by the box office there at Camping World Stadium and pick up your tickets for the
Pop-Tarts Bowl?
Holy shit, what a denigration that is. You go from being seeded into the second round of the tournament in most people's brackets 2 weeks ago to the Pop-Tarts Bowl on December. Is anybody heading up there for that? December 27th? Does it have any glamour whatsoever?
It's December 28th. They're going to be playing their bowl.
Okay.
After being ticketed for the playoffs until the second to last week. That's crazy.
Look, did the Hurricanes deserve that for the schedule that they played? And some of that wasn't necessarily their fault. I mean, they can't dictate the ACC schedule.
No.
So, but their out-of-conference schedule certainly wasn't an indicator that they were willing to take on any challenge. We were rolling when we left the track on Friday. You weren't there, but they had Hockman and Crowder were doing their show out there right by the door.
Oh, really? Oh, that's funny.
Okay, so I turned it on in the car on the way out of Gulfstream Park. Said hello to the boys there. Crowder always makes you feel good. Crowder's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, Channing Crowder. And Hockman, known for a long, long time, going all the way back to the early days of $7.90 the ticket. And so we've been friends for a long time. And so, yeah, it was nice to see these guys. So I figured I'd turn on their show, see what they're doing. And they actually had a stat that came up, and now this has been widely circulated. In fact, I think I saw a video by Nevin Shapiro. Was that really Nevin Shapiro? I thought he was in prison today.
I don't know, but people keep wanting it to be him, and it does look like an older, fatter Nevin Shapiro.
Where is Nevin Shapiro? That's a
He
great
got
question.
out. No, I think he got out here.
Anyway, yeah,
So
that was an
Crowder.
ugly thing.
So what was the stat? The Nevin Shapiro thing.
Stat,
I've
yeah, the
seen
Nevin Shapiro.
online.
So,
But
yeah, I mean, so they're talking about Mario Cristobal, who I mean, seems like a likable enough guy, and I remember covering him when he was with the Hurricanes. So at the time I was around the program quite a bit. Cristobal was always a decent guy, and yet, I mean, he doesn't do anything with the local media outside of his obligations that I've seen. Have you seen any
I
interviews
haven't
of
even
Mario
seen
Cristobal
that.
anywhere?
What are his local obligations? I haven't even seen him do.
Does he have the Mario Cristobal show or something?
Have
Does
you
Joe
seen it?
Zagacki talk to him every week?
I haven't seen it. I see one from Norvell all the way down here. I've never seen like I don't see Cristobal do anything. Like we made fun of Shannon when he was a coach because he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I feel like we saw Shannon more than Cristobal. Cristobal, for a guy that supposedly has this great personality, which hoodwinks recruits every fucking year. Why is he not out in the? I haven't seen him doing it. What does he do? I haven't. He did a lot when he was politicking on ESPN, but I haven't seen him do anything local. I haven't seen or heard him anywhere down here.
I'm not sure I have this exactly right, but I believe it's either close or is right. That Manny Diaz, during the time that he was here, went
Way better.
22-15 with the
Way
Hurricanes.
better of a coach.
And that Mario Cristobal, with his $80 million in price tag, and all of his recruiting genius and advanced use of the transfer portal that wasn't necessarily as much in vogue when Diaz was coaching the team,
Was not.
is one half game better at 23-15.
That's funny.
So that's all you gain. You gain one victory over what Manny Diaz was doing. They ran this guy out of town. They couldn't wait to get rid of the guy.
Yeah,
And here's Cristobal being hailed as some kind of genius. Now, he has made a steady ascent from where he was at to the point where they went 10-2 this year and had a very exciting, electrifying offense. But that will be hard to sustain with Cam Ward, who was spectacular, as good a quarterback as we've seen. And that's saying a lot. Passing the football as pretty much anyone we've had as a Hurricanes quarterback.
He's the best Canes quarterback since the heyday. I mean, all these guys they had that were supposed to be good never were. Kyle Wright, the fucking guy that they got from the Gators.
My favorite was Brian Forte.
Forte's back in the day.
Forte.
But
I actually caught a pass from Brian Forte, if you can imagine that, Louis.
Oh, that's funny.
That's when he was with the Hooters Arena Football League team.
Oh, God.
And they sent Joe Rose, Goldie, and me out to do something with these guys, and so we ended up each running a pass pattern. And actually, Joe Rose was the most logical to catch the ball.
Think?
Goldie's not a bad athlete, and so this guy, he fired one about 40 yards down the field. And I tell you what, I was a decent receiver in my days of playing touch football, but nonetheless. This was not an easy ball to catch because, I mean, it came in there like a howitzer. It was unreal, even though I was 40 yards down the field. Pretty incredible. So the guy could throw, and it shows you what it takes to be really good at that level. And so Cam Ward probably, was he as good as Vinny T or Bernie or going back to Jim Kelly?
Maybe. I mean, the one season, yeah. I mean, look at what he did.
He threw better passes than Ken Dorsey, that's for sure.
Statistically, in 1 year, it's with all the great Canes quarterbacks. And again, it's better than any of the guys they've had the last few years. So, like, they brought him in. They were fun. They were exciting. They were a top 10 team all year, which is what you want to see by year 3. The problem is, I mean, we have to see who they play in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, but they've struggled versus anyone decent. So to me, it feels like they're going to lose this game because Ward's not going to play. I don't care what Cristobal anyone tells you. For him to play he's going to be a top 10.
Why would Cam Ward?
For him to play in this fucking bowl would be the dumbest goddamn thing. It would just be dumb. Like, I don't give a shit how rah-rah you are about your school. You're a moron to want to see a guy ruin his career in a stupid-ass bowl. Like, with the kind of things that can happen with injuries and how it can fuck you up, especially when you're a quarterback trying to enter a league. Like, the way you start your career as a quarterback is everything. Like, from Brock Purdy to Trey Lance, like, where you're drafted, how you start is literally your trajectory. So, like, if you come in hurt, look at Jordan Travis, a guy that was probably a late first, second round pick. By the end of last year, he had finally grown into, like, a real quarterback. Look, he was right neck and neck with Jaden Daniels, who went fucking 3rd overall. Jordan Travis was going to be a late first, second round pick. fucking hurts himself. And they were playing a stupid-ass team, Northern Alabama or some shit. And the way that, and even in this day and age, when guys recover quick, he's had setbacks all year. First of all, he gets drafted in the fourth or fifth round, already falls off. And now he missed a whole year because of injury. Like, playing the fucking Pop-Tarts Bowl to ruin your NFL career? I'm sorry. I'm a big FSU fan. Unless it's for a playoff spot, it's stupid as fuck to play in a bowl these days. It just is. There's no all the Dion kids. We're playing in the Alamo Bowl. Well, you're stupid, Dion. You don't give a shit about your kids. Because to me...
Well, I mean, Andy brings up an interesting question. And I would imagine that there are conditions with these NIL deals, some of which probably require the player, if he's going to get the money, to play in whatever final game, the ball game, unless hurt. Now, you could always feign an injury and say, hey, look, I can't go. My knee's fucking killing me. And what could anybody say about that? I guess it could be challenged whether or not you get the money. But if all of your money, say this guy, how much money do you think they paid Cam Moore to be on the team? Does anybody know that figure? Maybe Nevin Shapiro does.
It's $5 to $6 million, or $3 to $5 million. $6
million.
It's somewhere three, or it might not be that. Remember, a lot of these numbers they throw out there, what we hear is not that.
Do we ever see these guys doing anything with that? I mean, is it just for the television revenue that they consider that you're getting paid for name, image, and likeness?
It's a
and why don't they just get rid of that whole fucking thing and just declare it a professional sport? I think that is a conversation that's popped up. And what's the point of, again, always trying to shadow this? Are college athletes, now that they're getting paid this enormous amount of money, are they still considering college sports to be amateur sports? How could it be?
They don't use that word very often anymore, but I think...
You never hear that, right?
I think it sort of still is under...
He's got to protect his amateur status.
The cover there. So I don't know. Look,
he's got to cover his ass with his bank account.
I get, as what we saw with FSU last year, and we saw with Georgia, where they played their guys, I get the idea that you can tie your NIL to the bowl game, and then... That's why guys will play. That's fine, because if you're going to get paid in college, it should be like a job, and you should keep your word. Fine, but to me, if you don't have that, then there's no reason to play in a fucking bowl. Like I just don't see it.
Yeah, there's no contingency, and then on top of that, if you have leverage like Cam Moore did, where 50 schools want his services, could you not dictate that? Listen,
yes,
I'm not signing on for that contingency.
Bingo.
I'll play your regular season, and if we make it into the college football championship, okay, I'm on board. But if I'm playing in a Pop-Tarts Bowl, a lousy cereal idea that's not good for your health, in Orlando, fucking Florida, where you just were 2 weeks in a row. How did you handle that, by the way?
I'm happy to be here.
Very curious. How many hours did you have to actually spend in Orlando? Like a whole day?
We got there Thursday night.
You make a 3-hour schlep, and actually turns out to be 4 usually.
No, it wasn't 4. It was about 2.5 to 3 hours.
That's it? All right.
Yeah, we got there Thursday night, did Universal's 2 parks Friday. It was my nephew's birthday, so I went with my 2 nephews, my sister, and my brother-in-law.
How was that?
It was good. The kids actually... Disney's fucking annoying because it's really big, and it's a lot of walking, and kids don't walk these days. So my nephews 2 years ago when we did that were a disaster. Universal's a lot smaller. It's a lot more compact. There's a lot while you're walking. There's more things. So
was there any suggestion of Legoland?
No, I think they've done Legoland, and I wasn't there for that, thank God. But they were actually really good.
A dietist's dream, Legoland.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
I think my buddy Dr. Jerry's made a small fortune off people that have stepped on Legos that had kids.
Exactly. So no Legoland, but. And there's Harry Potter's world, and the kids love Harry Potter. So it went the kids really well. We had a good time. We had a good dinner, and then we came back Saturday. So Orlando wasn't the worst thing ever. But looking at the Canes, to me, it feels like you're not going to have Ward. You're going to see what the Canes really were going to be this year. Whoever they play, I feel like they're going to lose. So to me, this great year, their best year in 20 years, feels eerily similar to 2017, where they started 10-0, and then they lost the last 3. If they lose a Pop-Tart...
in Yankee Stadium that year? The
Pinstripe Bowl, and they lost to Wisconsin, and they got drubbed by Wisconsin. Like, to me, it feels like they're going to lose this bowl, and they'll have gone from not 10-0, or maybe they might have been 9-0 because they won 1 game. So 9-0 to 10-3, losing 3 out of their last 4. And as great as Cristobal has been with recruiting, first of all, this class has fallen apart. His class is like 15th. FSU, which literally was 2-10, is at like 18 because Norvell's busted ass to bring in some really interesting hires to sort of pacify the fan base.
You would have to think that Norvell has improved the upper crust of his assistant coaches.
No, he busted ass. The guys he brought
These
in are night and
two
day.
hires that he brought in legitimate guys for
They're night and
offense
day.
and defense.
They're night and day. So I don't know what you do with Cristobal and the Canes because he got you relevance. He got you into the national spotlight. He got you near the playoffs. But what the schedule you had, I get it. When they look at it now, it's really in the 60s, the strength of schedule. It's not 100. Yeah, but it's not top 20. Like, it's still a shitty schedule. You should have gone fucking undefeated. Maybe stubbed your toe against Georgia Tech. The fact that you lost 2 games and struggled the last 2 months the way you did, I don't know how it clears up any reservations. Like, people like you, Mayo, even Segredo now has. Like, this, to me,
Tony, I don't know what happened to Tony, but he went 180-degree turnaround. Did he not?
Yeah, 100. Yep.
Like diametrically opposed to where he was usually at. Remember, we used to have to even. Well, we love Tony, but we had to question that he was just fluffing over the obvious when he would have this unwavering loyalty to the Hurricanes and whatever it was that they were doing at the time. And then this year, I mean, it started right at the beginning of the season. And you were thinking, come on, Tony. You're Tony Segredo, man. You're the ambassador of love when it comes to this program.
Yeah, no, he's jaded.
I mean, it'd be like asking Gene Deckeroff about the Florida State Seminoles back in the day, and he says, nah, we're going to suck this.
Yes. Yes.
Like, Gino, what the fuck are you talking about? Unbelievable.
So
will there be any excitement about this?
No.
Traditionally, I don't know if this has changed because I haven't been around the program to any level near what I used to experience, where I was very much immersed in it. I was hosting Hurricane hotlines and coaches shows and pregame shows, postgame shows, doing a lot of the games in the other sports on play-by-play. And there was always this notion that the Hurricanes really didn't show the level of compassion for their team, their fans, in terms of supporting them, especially on the road, where all of these other teams travel with large contingents of fans and bring thousands of people into the community. And all of the bowl hosting cities loved having, say, Notre Dame or whatever. But people shied away from the Hurricanes when it was left up to bowl selection, and that was done by invitation. Is that still the case? I mean, will anybody have any interest in this Pop-Tarts?
No, none at all.
And Iowa State had a good season. It wasn't like if
they play Iowa State, they're not winning.
For me, like a nondescript Midwest team that I really couldn't tell you a whole hell of a lot about, except that they were 10-2 on the year and weren't bad.
They were top 15 for most of the year, and they're the kind of team that would have their players in a bowl game. So I think it's a good shot that Miami loses that game.
Oh, I think they get hammered.
I don't know how. It's so funny because this was their all-in year, right? Like, they struggled a lot down the stretch with Ward. Anyone who looks at that team without Ward sees 5 losses, right? So you're not going to have Ward next year. Their QB room sucks. Like, he's recruited the QB position as bad as anyone in the country. Like, This is his best quarterback, the guy he's got this year, and the guy's like top 300, top 20. Like, he's not like a guy that you're starting the first 2 years of his career. Like, that's a guy that's going to sit on the bench for 2-3 years. Like, they have to hope and pray to get another transfer next year just to try and be even close to what they were this year. So for all the money you put into Cristobal, all the reservations people like we had.
Restrepo's going to be gone also.
Yeah, he's gone. They lose a ton of players.
Which players you had for the most part.
They lose a ton of players on offense and defense. Like, I don't know. This was the year. This was, okay, you make the playoffs, you make a run, then whatever happens next year, people will be pacified. You finish the year going 1-3, 10-3, when this was your all-in year and you don't have this to come back to next year. What do you do with Chris? Like, he's not going anywhere because you're paying him so much money, but I don't know how anyone's, like, satisfied with him. He's proven that he's not a good coach. Like, he really has proven that. And now he's recruiting. You win 10 games, this should be your top 5 class. They have the 15. It's like kids are finally realizing, oh, fuck, he's full of shit. Like, that's what this class felt like to me. Like, a lot of kids at the end were like, oh, okay.
So this is not really. We don't know if that's actually Nevin Shapiro on that video.
No, I have no idea. I don't know, but he's right. Oh, so did you even finish? I don't even think you finished the stat that.
It's something like that. Like Cristobal is just like 1 game better, I think, than Mario.
Because the other one I've seen, and this is what's really pissing Canes fans off because the Canes
across 3 years.
Well, it's not even the record thing. It's Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State. that Herm Edwards left as a clusterfuck. Because remember, Manny Diaz was recruiting in the top 15 every year. So he actually had talent at UM. Cristobal didn't come, and he was winning 7-8 games. Cristobal didn't come to an empty cupboard. He just came to a program that was teetering and plateauing and not ascending, right? Dillingham didn't do that. Arizona State was a fucking disaster after Herm Edwards.
Oh, they were picked to be last in their conference.
Disaster. The dude has never been a head coach. He's been offensive coordinator for short periods of time and skyrocketed, very much like Dan Lanning, up the charts. In year 2, in a Big 12 that sort of fell apart at the end of the season, he demolishes a good Iowa State team to make the playoffs with no money, and recruiting. Like, that's the one that's really pissing Canes fans off, because it's like, this guy should not be in the playoffs in year 2, and your ass is sitting at home in year 3.
Pretty amazing. All right, so that was, I mean, it was no surprise that they didn't make the postseason. We all knew that was coming. I think I saw some numerology to the effect that Alabama, after SMU lost to Clemson, that Alabama still had supposedly a 72% chance of making the postseason field of 12, and that SMU had like a 20-something percent, whatever the rest of that to 100% was. It was like 72% Alabama, 28% for SMU, and so that was a little bit of a surprise. I think it was a pleasant one. I think people were happy with that in general, college football fans. No, I mean, outside of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and the legions of Alabama fans that have become Alabama fans, even though they hate the state and they hate everything about it. When they were winning championship after championship, got to give it to Kirby Smart too. Hangs in there with Georgia. That was a good ball game. Georgia, Texas. It looked like Texas had Georgia by the jugular, and they couldn't convert. They missed a couple of field goals in the game and had to settle for a few that otherwise, I mean, if they get, obviously, this is a game that went into overtime, and they actually took the lead in overtime. Overtime is just absolutely, I mean, devastating to, that gets into this Dolphin game.
If the Dolphins did not win overtime,
degenerate underdog player. Would you agree, Lubie? Have you seen this many, many times? And this cockamamie rule of the NFL, how could they not change that at some point in the regular season, where it doesn't apply in the postseason, where the team that gets the ball first, if they score a touchdown, the game's over?
I hate it.
That reeks of the very same unfair playing field and level and putting too much contingent on a coin toss. I understand this, that they take their first shot. It's kind of like if you win the coin toss in the college overtime, you always defer and let the other team go first.
Yeah, so you know what you're dealing with. Yep.
And you know what you have to do. Yep. All right. You know, if all you need is a field goal, then boom, you can run the ball a couple of times, kick a field goal, win the game. Yeah. If you need the touchdown, then you're in a situation where obviously you're going for any fourth down.
Yeah, it gives you an extra down. Yep.
Okay, and there are advantages there, but at least it's more equitable than team goes like the Dolphins did yesterday. Now I'm getting 6 points with the Jets in my personal bookmaking.
You were? Oh, good for you. You got to push at least. Oh, good. Oh, that's interesting.
But a push, literally. I mean, it was beyond. Kissing your sister would have been far more satisfying than getting that push. When you were up 8 in the fourth quarter, and then take a late lead, a 3-point lead, and the only thing that can really do you in is a long kickoff return that puts the Dolphins in a relatively decent field position. And then all of a sudden they had Sanders, who now is the most reliable guy in the fucking league.
Isn't it crazy?
Although he missed an extra point, which also set up the possibility. I mean, we don't know what would have happened if he had made it, but it did put the game in a position mathematically where it ended up going to OT. But I don't know that I'm taking any magic carpet ride with the Dolphins. You had speculated they should win their last 5 games,
and I thought they'd still miss the playoffs. That was my point was, and I'm watching yesterday. I'm like, oh, so that won't even happen. Like they're gonna lose to the fucking Jets.
I thought it appeared certain they were going to lose that game, did it not?
Yeah, I was
after the third quarter when the Jets won the third quarter 10-0.
The fact that their offense had struggled. Like their offense every week, they're like, so Rodgers, are you playing? Like halfway through the year, they're like, are you playing next year?
That was his first 300-yard passing game in like the last several years. Aaron Rodgers.
Their offense has been a disaster. It's been a mess. They're on their backup coach that we've had people on here.
They were missing Hall, their top running back.
Sucks. They went up and down the field all day. Like literally,
Yeah.
they were the case that proved me in in our conversation with Perk and Hyde right. And I get it. The other part was, well, the Dolphins just need to score touchdowns on every drive. But who scores touchdowns on every fucking drive? Like that, no team does that. So it's pretty much, yeah, their defense is horrendous. It's not helping them at all. Look, they're playing a horrible offense, and they can't stop them. Like,
More suspect as a head coach, Mike McDaniel or Mario Cristobal?
Oh,
That would be an
God.
interesting question.
I
Right away, your first instinct is to say Cristobal, but is
Yes.
Mike McDaniel really any better?
No. I
I'm
can't
not
stand
sure.
him. I've gotten to a point where I don't like him at all.
Overall, as a head coach, is Mike McDaniel any better than having Mario Cristobal out there? Even though he's very amenable to doing interviews, always talks to the media,
Yes.
shows great respect for them. It's not like Cristobal is disrespectful to the media. That's not the case. He just doesn't do anything, like you said.
The difference is
You're
McDaniel.
right. Randy Shannon, who seemed to have just outright acrimony and animosity towards the media, what was much more available and accessible than Mario Cristobal has been. Because I did many interviews with Randy Shannon, and it was, you got the feeling that he couldn't wait to hang up the phone, even though I knew the guy a little bit. It was not on any kind of negative terms. I wasn't really an outspoken critic of Randy Shannon, to the point where all of these coaches say they don't listen to anything or hear anything. But how is it that they always know that you've been ragging on them on the air? They always seem to know or sense that. But he would at least make himself available.
Yes. He did
and,
stuff.
Whereas we don't know much about Cristobal, but on the surface, you'd say right away it was McDaniel. But I don't know. Is he? What the hell is this guy doing? I'm not sure that I buy into. Everybody loves the guy. You would like to see him succeed. He seems like the kind of guy you would love to have succeed as your head coach and be your head coach for 20 years. But
Look, I mean, if we're comparing the two of them, it's Cristobal is the worst by a lot. I mean, Cristobal's in his 50s. This is his third head coaching job. He'd been an assistant for a long time. He'd been an assistant under Saban to revitalize his career. And it feels like he hasn't learned at all from his FIU days. He's the same guy going back to then, let alone Oregon, let alone here. McDaniel, he's in his late 30s. I don't even know if he's in his 40s yet. It's his first job. It does feel like he's at least learning a little. They're running a little bit more.
they only ran for 44 yards this week.
I know. Well, they're not running it well because their offensive line sucks. But at least he used to just totally junk it. He's not totally junking it a lot of the time now, especially when it's working a little. And it feels like he's at least learning a little. So McDaniel definitely is a better coach than Cristobal. But I don't think McDaniel's ready to be a coach. I think, and I've said this for now a year and a half, like it feels like to me he's learning on the job for an organization that wasn't built for that. Like this organization was built when he came in to win now. He's coaching like as though it's a team that's rebuilding, like the Jets, like not the Jets. The Jets are supposed to win now too, but
the Jets or whatever they're rebuilding. I
like
mean,
a Panthers.
it looks like a city in the Ukraine after Putin said
it feels like he's coaching like it's the Panthers, where you have a rookie quarterback and you are just learning, and we hope we get better every week. Or the Bears, like that's not what this organization was supposed to be right now. And to me, their red zone play calling is fucking horrendous. Jonnu Smith was literally the most consistent offensive piece the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
I don't think he caught a pass till like the fourth quarter.
He didn't go
overtime,
and then he was literally saved their ass on that drive. He made the two screens, the only screens that worked the whole fucking day, and then the catch that Tua waited forever to throw the fucking ball, then made a nice throw, and he catches it in traffic for the touchdown to win the game. It's like, okay, where was he all day? Like, what are you doing? Like,
same thing he had with earlier in the year with, Tyreek Hill might have been compromised, but Jalen Waddle was fine. And you go games where they didn't touch the ball until the fourth quarter, which is insane, right? I mean, one of the very first principles, and you learn this playing sandlot ball, especially you play a little 3-on-3, 4-on-4 basketball. And I've talked about this, many, many times. So where one of the first things you wanted to do, if you were going to be sort of a team leader in terms of being a playmaker, you wanted to get everybody involved right away.
Yes.
You at least wanted to throw the guy a pass on the line of scrimmage.
Yep, point guard or quarterback.
Early in the game and say, hey, let's let everybody touch the ball and do something. Yep. And if it happens and it works out well, now we're in full rhythm and in synchronization and in perfect harmony. And it's going to be tough to stop because everybody's involved.
Yep.
You don't have a guy running, especially in football, where you're running futile pass patterns and the ball never comes your way. After a while, it's human nature. Your natural tendency is to say, "Well, fuck this." Why am I sprinting down the field running a 4-2 40-yard dash to get open, and the guy never throws me the ball. He's looking for some dump off pass like he was Chad fucking Henne. Unbelievable. So yeah, interesting though. Dolphins win. They go on the road and play the Texans. They're underdogs this week, Lubie.
It should be.
They get by that one though, and what? They have the Jets again, and then a couple of
The
Browns,
Browns
who
and the Niners, who
were
are
awful
fucking
yesterday, even though they've occasionally showed signs of life. But that's contingent on the up and down Jekyll and Hyde play of one Jameis Winston. But they got hammered yesterday. I mean, handled right from
Well,
the
the
start.
Steelers are playing really good football.
Yeah. And who's the other game they play?
And the Niners, who are
Niners. The Niners
are in a mess. They won this week because they played a horrendous team, but the Niners aren't like scary. These are winnable games. I don't know what if this is the defense where Ramsey can't even cover. Like the Fuller's not covering or tackling. The linebackers don't do shit. They don't get any rush at all. They've now suddenly become They were always tackling. Now they're just bad at tackling. Like they couldn't get off the field yesterday versus a team that has been an utter mess, and like you said, is missing their overall probably best weapon in Hall. Like the Texans, who have had their struggles.
Did you watch a lot of this game?
I watched a lot of it. I watched it. I wasn't like this because I kept figuring they were going to lose, but I saw what happened. I watched the game, and the Jets went up and down the field.
Yeah, it was too nice of a day to sit there and dedicate it to watching the Dolphins on TV, especially in a season that appears to be one that you can just say overall is going to end up being relatively meaningless. No championship since 1973. Looks like that streak is going to continue.
Yeah.
Mike Lubitz. You can not even see them making the playoffs. And then on top of that, it's hard to picture that they would win. I mean, any team can luck out and win a playoff game, but you can't imagine that they're going to win 3 games and find their way into the Super Bowl. Get the fuck out of here. That's not happening.
No, so we covered a lot of ground there. The Miami Dolphins did get a big win in the sense that if they lose that game, they're pretty much out of the playoffs. 4 games left. To be down 3 games to 3 teams is where they would be. You're not mathematically out, but you're not getting the playoffs. Well, they struggle with a bad Jets team, that was struggling on both sides of the ball. They couldn't stop them on defense at all, an offense that was struggling mightily. And they were moving the ball on offense, but they weren't really cashing in and getting touchdowns because they still are horrendous in the red zone. But they did get to overtime. They did get the ball first, and Tua, who was strong in the second half again, did find a way alongside Jonnu Smith, who was nowhere to be found for the entirety of the regulation for some freaking reason. 3 times, including the game-winning touchdown, walk-off touchdown. The Dolphins do win by 6. The Dolphins do get that victory and now remain 2 games back of 3 teams with 4 games left. So the percentages aren't high, but there is a chance the Dolphins can make the playoffs. I just don't find them to go anywhere in the playoffs. I mean, the Steelers have an elite defense. The Ravens have a really good defense. The Chiefs have a really good defense. And all those teams have now either found their offense or have really good offense. Look at the Dolphins' defense. The offense is good. It's not great. It's good. It needs a defense. It doesn't have one. This is the worst defense has played in years. Like, literally, bad teams go up and down the field on them, and half the time finish it off and get touchdowns. Good teams are going to go up and down the field on them and get touchdowns. And this defense scares the living crap out of me. I don't see the Dolphins going very far, and it gets back to the question that we talked about at the end of our discussion. Mario Cristobal, great recruiter. It's funny, the year he does the best, wins 10 games, is the worst class he's had since its first class. And even then, I think that class finished stronger than this class stands right now. It's a top 15 class, but it's borderline top 15. If other teams, I don't know who they're adding, but if other teams add, they're going to jump them. It's his worst class, I would think, especially with what's going on. It would be his 4th class. And they won 10 games, so showing they can win 10 games, even though it's really... What I think it shows that people realize it's not him, it was Cam Ward, and he's still the same coach, where he's good at accruing talent. He's not good at coaching up the talent, and his staff's not good at coaching up the talent. The defense fell apart. It was supposed to be one of the better defenses in the conference in the country, and it was just bad. The Canes' defense the last 2 months was just flat out bad. The offense was really good against bad teams, but... who knew what it would be against good teams, because we didn't really see it against good teams at all the entire season, and they still found a way to lose 2 games. And I really feel like they're going to lose in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Iowa State's actually a legit team, a top 20-ish team, I don't know. I think that's the kind of team that would bring it in a bowl game. And the Canes, I know Cam Ward has come out and said he's going to play in the bowl. Yeah, half of FSU's team said they play in the bowl. And then the bowl came around, and it actually meant nothing. So you realize, millions of dollars, my draft stock, my reputation, what people think of me, what I could do in my future, a game versus a game that's meaningless. I wonder. I highly doubt. Look, Cam Ward did get a huge NIL deal, as we know, and a lot of these schools in the NIL deal will put, you better play in your bowl. So maybe he'll play in the bowl for that. I still feel like the way the Canes limped down the stretch, losing 2 out of their last 3, and playing really bad football, especially defensively, but even the offense wasn't the same offense the last 2 months of the year. I feel like they lose that bowl. So now you have the Canes losing 3 or 4, similar to what they did in 2017, where they started 10-0 under Mark Richt, and then lost 3 in a row, getting hammered in the bowl. This is Cristobal's big year. I don't know. It feels like it leaves a lot to be desired, and it leaves a lot of questions there. And Mike McDaniel, look, this is year 3 for him. They went all in on the roster. Is now the 3rd defensive coordinator, 2nd in 2 years. Well, I guess it's 3 in 3 years. He went and brought in Fangio last year in year 2. They didn't see eye to eye. His style didn't work with the players. So he brings in Weaver, and Weaver's defense, I get it. They have a lot of injuries. Phillips came early in the year and got hurt for the year because it's Phillips. He's always hurt. And Chubb, who got hurt last year, hasn't played at all. And he started to practice last week, but we haven't seen him. We haven't heard from him. And your draft pick, Chop Robinson's a nice edge, and he has all these fun pass rush rate numbers. He doesn't get sacks. He really doesn't even wreak havoc on the quarterback, to be brutally honest, if you watch Chop Robinson. The linebackers are a mess. And the one calling card, the savior, John Holland was a rising star 2 years ago, fell backwards, but we thought it was Fangio's defense. This defense, he should excel in. He's not been good. It's not even that he's become average. He's been just bad, Javon Holland. And Phil Fuller, the signing, the great Chris Greer, has been horrendous when he's playing. He's been hurt the other time. And Jalen Ramsey's a good player still, but he's not a great player. Age is catching up with him. He's not the dude that he's getting beat a lot for a guy of his caliber and for the money he's making. The defense is a mess, and the offense is good, but it struggles in the red zone, and the offensive line's horrendous. It's really bad. So they can't run the ball. So at some point, that's probably what hurts them in the red zone as much as they don't have a big target. Jonnu Smith had been playing really good football, had like 1 or 2 targets in the game, didn't have a catch. And then in overtime, has 2 big screens that really open up the drive in overtime, and then has the game-winning touchdown. I don't know what Mike McDaniel's doing. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't like the play calling in the red zone. I don't like that the offensive line is what it is, and it just struggles the way it struggles. And then the defense is just bad. And to me, it goes to Chris Greer, Mike McDaniel. People want to blame Chris Greer, fine, and let Mike McDaniel go. I think that's wrong. Look, it's his first head coaching job, but he took the job knowing what he was getting into. This was not a rebuild. This was not a start over. This was not – the quarterback was already drafted, and he was trying to get the best out of him. This was – we're going all in. We've done the tanking. We did all that. We have pieces now. We're going to spend a lot of money and sign guys, and we're going to spend a lot of money in trades. Give up draft capital, to give up players, and bring in tentpole guys to go play for a Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl. They haven't won a playoff game. And in year 3, they could win 5 in a row, get to 10-7, and still miss the playoffs. And I think it squarely goes on Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel. And I just don't see how you bring back Greer, and I don't see how you get rid of Greer and then keep McDaniel. It's just, to get a real GM, he's going to want his own coach. It's just that simple. Now, again, Tua's looked like a real quarterback. So Tua, I think you keep. I don't know what you do with him with the injuries because it still scares the living crap out of me. But he's been sliding. He's been avoiding contact. I don't know. Look, there's a lot of questions for both of those teams. And I trust Mike McDaniel more than Mario Cristobal because he's young and he's just learning. But I don't trust either coach, to be honest. And this is going to be a very interesting offseason for the Miami Hurricanes. And it's going to be a very interesting offseason for the Miami Dolphins because you're supposed to be a playoff contender year in, year out now. And you have a lot of big contracts, a lot of guys that are coming due. And I don't know what you do with them. We shall see. The Miami Heat are playing better basketball. The Florida Panthers are playing solid hockey. We'll definitely talk about that. Check us out each and every morning. The Defo Show with Lubie on South Florida Live, the YouTube channel. South Florida Live, the Facebook page. And check us out here with our South Florida skewed content. The Diva Show that will be on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.